in a good mood because this is obviously a nice young witness, and I'm curious, actually, Mrs. Cook and Mr. Cook, how did you identify, obviously, the overprescription, and was it the fact that he, in his own words, was zoning out, and I mean, what led you to take that proactive step to get your child back?
We've had about 3.5 years of experience in foster care and lots of training, including a little bit of training from Nancy Thomas. She actually came and helped teach a kind of a course at our foster care community for attachment therapy. And stemmed from that, we just got really educated fast about how foster kids, they come with a lot of baggage. They're sad. Well, why wouldn't they be sad? Their situation is not a happy one. And it's so easy to just find something to help them feel better for the moment, and that's not the right thing. And there's so many ways to help them through consistency and just not letting them down, being there for them. So really, it was right from the time we had foster care. When we got him, we knew something was off. We knew that the medications, that's terrible. He was just a lights out. That was it. You can just tell that there was more to the situation, but we only had him a weekend, so of course we had to give him his meds correctly that weekend. But when we got him, we asked the physician, the doctor at his new pediatrician, we said, you know, what can we do to start getting him off these things? We need to start seeing how he really reacts. And he was very interesting for the first few months. It was he gave us some fun times, but that's it. You know, it took a few months, and he was already a different child.
Well, I could only imagine. Of course, it's going to be interesting. He was on some very serious medications affecting a young man. And so, you know, I want to commend you and your husband for taking that step. Is this your first adoption from foster care?
Yes, this is our first actual adoption.
So what made Keontae so special?
You know, we were looking...
Erica, earmuffs.
I've told him this so many times because I really want him to know that I really feel like God brought him to us, because we were originally looking for a little girl, but we weren't necessarily picky. We really, you know, prayed that God would bring us who He wanted us to have. And after not having our foster kids, it was really hard. So when we moved to Texas, sorry. But our caseworker, she was amazing. She, you know, from a refuge house, an adoption agency in Dallas. She sent this video, this little blurb. She goes, I know you said you were looking for a little girl, but, you know, just something about this hit me, and I think you should look at it. And we did. And it was a Wednesday's Child deal on him. And it was actually the second time that he was on Wednesday's Child. He had been on it 2 years prior. And there was a possible adoption from the first time he had been seen on it, but it didn't happen. Something, you know, didn't go through. And so they let him come back 2 years later and do it again. And we saw that, and his story was he just wanted a home. He wanted somewhere to belong. And you could tell from the first time to the second time he had a little less hope in his tone. And we had looked at some of the other Wednesday's Child just because we were on the website at that time, and no one else hit us like Keontae did. And we just knew after the situation, you know, not having the girls that we had in Florida, it was we knew he needed someone, and we need someone to need us back, and it was just perfect. And the way that he was brought in so quickly, right before Christmas, it was amazing.
And Keontae, I see you giving the thumbs up there. That's great. And so just a kind of when you were going through your transition and you were being medicated, you know, what are your thoughts or memories about transitioning from being the highly medicated to where you are now? Obviously, I'm presuming it was filled with some real struggles and battles. And so what gave you the strength to actually, you know, become the young man that you are now and be where you are here today, you know, testifying before the United States Congress?
It was basically that I had hope that it'd soon be over and I wouldn't have to go through the same struggles that we did during those few months again. So that drove me to get through it, and that's why.
Great. Well, thank you for testifying. Good luck to you and your family. God bless. And look forward to hearing the rest of the testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Collins.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Keontae, that must have been a wonderful Christmas present when you went to live with the Cooks and when they became your parents. I bet that was one of your best Christmases ever.
It was awkward.
It was hard.
I kind of love my DS more, but but then I grew attached, so can't say anything now.
Well, they probably will get better and better. That I'm sure of. I bet when you look back, you'll consider it as being a great Christmas present. I'm curious, when you were put on these medications, whether any of the doctors explained to you what the medications were for and how you might feel when you were taking them. Did they talk to you about that?
They didn't say anything.
They didn't say anything. They just said, here's your medications, take it.
Basically,
Did your previous foster parents explain to you what the medications were for or how you might feel?
only one, and then they didn't tell me how I'd feel. They just told me what it was for, and it was for ADHD.
That had to be really scary, not to know what you were taking or why you were taking it. And I just can't imagine the doctors piling on drug after drug after drug without explaining to you what it was for, how long you should take it, what the impact might be, how you would feel, and what you should do if you didn't feel well taking it. Did any of them ask you, any of the doctors tell you to be sure to come back to see them or call them if the drugs made you feel zoned out?
They did, but the foster parents didn't go back like they were supposed to.
I see. Mrs. Cook, what kind of differences after the very difficult transition period did you notice in Keontae's behavior once he was off most of those medications?
His behaviors it was just a light and day difference. He went from breakdancing on the principal's conference room desk in her office to not even going to the principal's office for a whole month. I mean, in such a short period of time. You know, when he started school was January to May. It was almost a different child altogether. He was happy. He was always smiling. I mean, even to this day, he smiles all the time. He's happy. I mean, you can tell. Even if I give him a consequence, he has to do chores. You know, for forgetting his homework. He's happy. I mean, not to do the chores, but he's there with us doing the chores, and almost like you're not supposed to enjoy that. No, he's happy, and you can tell, and he doesn't have the tantrums. He's not upset for no reason. If he's upset, and it's a real reason, and not just for no reason. His tantrums, he'd be on the floor and just be wailing, or he'd tear things up in his room. And he had, it was like he didn't know how to be a real kid. He'd been kind of doped up for 4 years. It was almost like we had to show him what a kid his age is supposed to be like.
Thank you. Keontae, I just want to thank you so much for coming here today. I think it's very brave of you to tell your story, and it's going to help a lot of other children, and it's going to help us make sure there are better policies in place. So I thank you very much for coming forward. And Mrs. Cook and Mr. Cook, I think you're a great family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen. Dr. Coburn.
Keontae, you have a great smile.
Thank you.
It's infectious. Are you on any medicines now?
No, not at all. Just a couple of vitamins.
Yeah. Think about that. As a physician, I can tell you 3 of the medicines you were on are contraindicated for a child your age. not approved, never been studied. The other thing, looking at these medicines, is each one interacts with the other one. In other words, 2 out of the 5 work against 3 out of the 5. So yeah, probably the most important question I would have for you is the therapy that you had on Saturdays. Did you ever experience anything like that while you were in foster care?
Not exactly. We go to a therapist, it'd more be like a psychiatrist, and basically what we do, we talk about how the week was going. If we were good, we'd get donuts or chips, and then we just quit and then play.
But nobody spent the time talking to you about the disappointment with your birth mom. Nobody allowed you an opportunity to express your feelings about some of your anger.
Not all.
Yeah. Has there ever been a time, and maybe Ms. Cook, you can answer this, were you ever on Social Security disability? Was Keontae ever on Social Security disability as a consequence of being on these medicines?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. All right. What would be the message, Keontae, that you would have for other kids who aren't yet adopted that are in foster care that are on medicines? What would your experience tell them? That's a tough question, I know.
My experience would tell them that there's someone coming, you just have to wait for them and sit tight.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. That's a great answer. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, as we approach Christmas, that thought that someone's coming, all you have to do is hold on and sit tight. It's probably in the minds of a lot of kids your age and across the country. Fortunately for a lot of kids your age and younger across the country, they've never had to go through what you've gone through. They're lucky. They were born on third base, if you will, and born into a home where they had loving, caring parents who took wonderful care of them and made sure that they had what they needed, and frankly were not subjected to what they didn't need and what wasn't good for them. I too want to thank you very much for joining us today and for speaking with the wisdom of someone well beyond your years. And I just want to say to your mom and dad, it's just a joy to be here with you. And I think Keontae is here representing all the good that can come from kids when they have the kind of home that you've provided for him. He's gotten the kind of treatment and care that really has helped him. So we thank you for being role models on your own. And finally, I would say, as I said at the beginning, Keontae, some real good is about to come out of what wasn't so good in your life and in the lives of a lot of other kids. Some real good is going to come, and not just in Texas, not just in Delaware or Massachusetts or Maine or Oklahoma, but in all 50 states. So you can feel, I think, good and proud of that. And as we think about gifts that we're going to send to our friends and our family this Christmas, I can think of few gifts of greater value than that. And with that having been said, Mr. Cook, you are excused from the witness table, and you're free to take your mom and dad with you. I understand you haven't had any breakfast yet, and maybe at least not enough. And so we're going to excuse you, and you're going to head out and get some chow, and then I guess you head on back to Texas today.
Nope, New York to go talk to Diane Sawyers.
Diane Sawyer, oh, how about that? All right. Well, give her our best, and
I'll tell.
all right. Good luck. God bless. Thanks so much.